removal or stump removal needs, give our friends at Harper's Tree and Stump Removal a call. They can haul rock and sand, they can do driveway work, and can now do horizontal grindings of large wood debris piles. You can reach Keith at 229-314-2048 or at 229-938-2412. Harper's Tree and Stump Removal is the proud premier sponsor of the Integrity Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the Integrity Sports Podcast, covering local sports in the Southwest Georgia area, creating content that is factual, positive, and informative, promoting efforts by athletes, coaches, and sports administrators. Now, here's your host, Tim Estes.
Hello, and thank you for making the Integrity Sports Podcast a part of your weekly routine. We are live at the Roman Oven Pizzeria in the Americas Village Shopping Center. We'd love to have you come by and hang out with us. Come on in the VIP room and say hello, and let's talk some high school football. The legendary prognosticator Scott Westbrook will be with us tonight. We look forward to some good discussion with him. And you never know who's going to show up here at the Roman Oven Pizzeria. As we were eating supper tonight, our good buddy Rod Murray walked in, and I know a lot of our audience is very familiar with Rod. And we kind of went out and grabbed him and said, Rod, come on in. It's a light week. We don't have a lot of things going on. We need to fill a little time. And we haven't talked a whole lot about Deerfield football. But, Rod, let's kind of get into this thing. And you made the decision to leave Southland last year and go back down to Deerfield, Windsor. Let's just start off with how has the transition gone?
It's been great working with some friends that I've coached with before, with Craig Rose and David Peacock, and getting to know some new guys. But the transition's been fine. Great place here in Americas, and going to a great place to work every day there. So the transition's been fine, and just thankful to be what I'm blessed to do what I do with kids every day. So that's the number one thing.
Rod, you know, you were a head coach for a long time. And now you go back, and I understand you're coaching linebackers, and that's got to be a lot of fun for you. You had so many years of being the guy, and you had to coordinate a lot of things, and now you kind of get back to what you really love. Are you having fun?
Absolutely. When you're head coach the longest time, you worry about schedules, you worry about transportation, you worry about dealing with this, that, and the other. So sometimes when you're a head coach, you don't get to do your favorite thing that you want to do, which is actually coach and work with them. So that aspect, working with inside linebackers and not worrying about other stuff has been fun. I still help Jake with it some, but certainly just getting a chance to actually get your hands dirty and coach a position. That's what got us all in the first place to begin with. So that's been fun.
I understand you get to see our buddy Scott Westbrook over here at church every Sunday, but absolutely. Scott, what do you got for him?
Not every Sunday. I mean, I'm not as faithful as Ryan. I've been juggling a lot this season, but tell us who y'all gonna be playing in the first round and kind of break down the. Right
now, the GIA, as y'all well know, is based on Max Prep's ranking, and we're ranked fourth. And Lakeview Academy from Gainesville, Georgia, is going to make the trip to play us next weekend. So they're 9-1, have a good football team. We're 7-3 sitting here. So coming out of a tough region that all of y'all know how tough that region is. So we're sitting at home next week, and then just waiting to get this bye week over with. Bye weeks are real fun to practice. So we're off tomorrow, but we'll be hosting Lakeview Academy next week.
We all had some big wins this year, too, to build off of. Westfield being one of them.
Yeah, early in this season, Westfield had us down by 10, and we found a way to win that game. That was exciting. We've had some good moments. We beat Valwood a couple weeks ago. At the time, was ranked number 1 in the state, and we had a good stand against them. At the same time, Tift area in Southwest Georgia, there's some good football teams out there, and we've lost to them. And this past week, we lost to a good play team down in Tallahassee. So it's been a very good schedule for us, and we're thankful to be where we are.
Rod, I know you've got a lot of strong feelings for these kids that are at Southland Academy. You coached them for many years. I'm sure you've kept up with them this year, and one of the struggles they've had is just numbers. They hadn't had a whole lot of folks there, but, boy, it seems like they've competed in every game.
Well, let me tell you, I follow them. They're still like my kids. And with the injuries and the numbers, they've done a great job of holding that thing together. And you watch them play. Every week they go out. They've been chipping away, and Chance and the staff has done a great job with that team. And their spirits are high, and they're playing good football right now. They had Tiff Terry on the ropes, who's a fine football team in AAA, and they played really well against them. So they've done a tremendous job of getting better every week and running that wing tee, which I'm a wing tee guy too, and Chance is much better at it than I am, and they're hitting on that wing tee right now, doing a great job.
Hey, before we let you get out of here, let's talk a little bit about your upcoming playoff game. A very good Lakeview team coming in. Tell us a little bit. We don't get to follow Deerfield as closely as we do Southland and Sly and Sumter. Tell us a little bit about the strengths of the Deerfield team and maybe some things that you need to improve going into the playoffs.
Well, we're banged up with a few injuries right now. We're getting one or two of them back. We got banged. We lost a receiver potentially against McClay the other day. So the strength for us is just to keep moving the sticks. Our offensive line has been the same group for the most part all year long and stayed healthy. Defensively, just not giving up a big play because Lakeview is very, very athletic. And the quarterback is also a great basketball player. They run zone read, and he understands spacing very well with a couple of athletic guys on the other side of it that he can throw it to. So we just got to keep playing solid football, and we really play well when we get off to a good start. And that's what our goal is, to get out of the gate quick and hold that momentum as long as we can, Tim. So just like every other high school coach right now, we're just trying to stay healthy and play our best football at the end of the season. We think that we are right now.
Rod, I appreciate you stopping by, man. We miss you in Americus, but I'm glad you stopped by and see us every now and then and check in. And we want to wish you the best in your efforts down at Deerfield.
Well, thank y'all so much for letting me come in and talk, and I hope everyone's doing well out there. Thank you so much.
That's former Southland coach and current Deerfield coach, Rod Murray. Our program is also brought to you in part by One Digital Solutions. They are a steward for business growth and personal development. One Digital resolves real problems by fusing together solutions for your business and employees. It addresses things like human resource management, financial services, and employee benefits. It really is everything all in one. It's One Digital. Contact our friend Will Peterson at 229-347-6289 and let One Digital begin helping you today. We'll be back in just a moment to break down Southland Academy. You're watching the Integrity Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the Integrity Sports Podcast, covering local sports in the Southwest Georgia area, creating content that is factual, positive, and informative, promoting efforts by athletes, coaches, and sports administrators. Now, here's your host, Tim Estes.
Man, Scott, that was a lot of fun. I've always enjoyed being friends with Rod Murray. He is a quality guy and a good football coach, and it's fun when those guys get to come back and talk to us a little bit.
Yeah, we had a good conversation with him as we were getting show prep, and I'm glad you asked him to be on.
Southland Academy. Let's get to Southland. They played their final regular season game last weekend. Lost 32-12 to the number one ranked Southwest Georgia Academy Warriors. So Southland finishes the regular season at 3 wins and 7 losses. They are off this week, having an open week. And then the GIAA playoffs begin next Friday night. Just to recap, you and I kind of hit the nail on the head. Southland played another competitive game, at least for the first 3 quarters last week. And again, they played Southwest Georgia, which was the number one ranked team in the state. The final 32-12. We've talked all year long, Scott, about how incredibly tough the schedule that Southland had was. It was one of the toughest in the GIAA, the toughest in Class AA. But they finished the season 3-7, but 2-1 in their 4-team region in AA. They're going to be the 6th seed. As Rod just told us, GIAA uses match preps. They're going to be the 6th seed going into the playoffs as of now. So I pulled some stats and looked at the rankings. Right now, Southland is the 6th seed. They would play the 3 seed. That's Briarwood Academy. Briarwood right now is 8-1. They have the 5th toughest strength of schedule in AA, but going to be a tough game, Scott, going into Briarwood in Warrenton.
And a little bit more on last week and other games. A lot of games, even the 3-7 record for Southland is deceiving in that, like you said, they were close a lot of the games into the second and third quarter. And what a difference maybe 5 or 6 other – I'm not talking about 5 or 6 stars, but just 5 or 6 other bodies on that team would have had to maybe – because other teams, they may not have – outright beat them. They just outlasted them in a lot of cases, and that's the problem. And I'm sure that's the game plan of a lot of people that face Southland, is when they know what the numbers are and they sit there and go, look, we'll try to win the game in the fourth quarter if we hadn't done it then, because of the fact that they're so tired. But yeah, Southland, the regular season's dead and gone. Those games are in the graveyard. They're the ghost behind us, and so now the playoffs kick in. And every game, the Grim Reaper is standing on the sidelines for one team. And from here on out, you want to be the last team standing. So is a tough list. That's still a team that's Southland to beat.
I think so too. And if you look at strength of schedule, there are 10 number 7 for Briarwood. So Southland at number 1, Briarwood at number 7. It's going to be another game just like Southland's had for the last 2 weeks prior to Southwest Georgia. And we saw Southland get wins in those, even though the teams had better records than Southland, because Southland was a little more prepared. I want to suggest to students that may be watching this from Southland Academy that are not football players. Chance Jones has brought in a new wrinkle. He's a wing T guy. Because of that, some skilled people have different responsibilities, but it depends on the upper guys, the linemen. Mm-hmm. If you're a kid at Southland that's not playing football and you want to play football, go play football. They need you. They are down to contribution to that team. Could help you have a better high school career, something you could look back
at. With your high school teammates, no matter what extracurricular activity you're involved in. And if you've got time, even if you feel like you don't have time, that it always looks good on college applications. And in high school, I told all 3 of my kids, I said, my biggest thing is I want you to live a life without regrets, and I don't want you to sit there and be 25 years old and say, I regret not doing this when I was in high school. I regret not doing this when I was in college. And unfortunately, some people that go through high school and maybe just do the bare minimum will have some regrets when they look back. So I'm hoping that a lot of these people that maybe just entertain the thought of maybe I should go out and try out for football, but I don't know. And then they give I can't this, I can't that, I can't. You don't know until you go out there and try. You may be one of the most gifted players in the school, but you don't know until you try.
That's right. So Southland Academy off this week. That takes us to Sly County. Boy, what a game we had at Sly County this past Friday night. The Wildcats defeated Marion County by a score of 40-28. So the Wildcats' final regular season record was 6 wins and 4 losses. They too will be open not just this week, but next week. Had a big 40-28 win over their arch rivals, Marion County. These 2 teams, Scott, were 4-1 going into the game in the Region 6 Class A Division II standings. Sly County played soundly on both offensive and defensive sides of the football. And Scott, this past week, they proved that they were the better team on the field.
Most definitely. Marion came in with a few tricks, but it was at the end of the game, it was Sly who ended up with a bag of candy.
That's right.
And so with that, Sly County has the momentum, has some good momentum going into the postseason. They'll have a week off that allow our coaches to go out and maybe scout a few upcoming possible opponents. We'll get to that in just a minute because we won't know who will be playing because of what's going to go on in Butler tomorrow night. But that will definitely give some time to rest. Get those injuries healed up, and hopefully they won't get rusty. They'll just get some rest.
If Taylor County can knock off Macon County this coming Friday, Sly would win the region. They would be the number 1 seed team in the region. However, if Macon County were to beat Taylor County, Macon County would be the region champ. So here's the crazy thing, Scott. If Macon County wins, they're number 1. If they lose, they're number 4.
What an incredibly pivotal game that is tomorrow night. And, Taylor County has quietly, over the past few years, the coach up there has steadily improved that program.
He really has.
We have, we've blown the trumpet for Sumter County and their coaching staff and all, but Taylor County deserves some credit too. Each year, you want to look and see at the record. You look at what he's done each year, what it was when he inherited it, and what he has done each year to improve it. And if the two of us on our podcast know about it, I guarantee you bigger high schools know about it in the state.
Right.
And they're starting to take notice, and they'll look at that, and there'll be some coaching vacancies. And it wouldn't surprise me if some of those coaches reached out to Coach Byram in Taylor County. And then it'll be interesting to see where Taylor County is and how they have to replace him and see if that coach has the same success over the next few years.
We had Coach Byram on our show not long ago. He zoomed in with us from a JV game. And what I really like about him is he's a stand-up guy. He's very respectful of his opponents. Mm-hmm. He just goes about putting together a great game plan. And I know one of the things you and I have talked about multiple times on the radio and here on the podcast, 2 years ago when Sly County was one of the top teams in the state, he put together the best game plan of any coach that we saw, mm-hmm. kept the football 3/4 of the time on offense, and just didn't give Sly County much of a chance to score. Now, Sly found a way to win, but I thought that really sold me on Coach Byram.
They found a way to win, but he didn't let it be a blowout. He kept the time of possession. He held on to the ball. He had those kids disciplined, and it's when you control the pace of the game and you want to slow the game down, but you still want your players to play with the same intensity, then he was able to pull that off.
Now, the way Georgia High School does the playoffs, they match up regions. And so the number 1 team in Sly's region would play the number 4 team in another region. The number 2 team in our region would play the 3 team in that same region. And then our 3 would play there too. So that's kind of how it falls out. Well, that region that we are matched up with includes 3 of the top 5 teams in the state: Manchester, Bowden, and Tryon. All of them have 1 loss going into the last week of the season. Now, Tryon is going to play Bowden this coming week. Mm-hmm. If Tryon wins that game, you're going to have you'll have Tryon, then Manchester, then Bowden. If Bowden wins it, I think they're stuck at number 2. And it's going to be Manchester, Bowden, Tryon as 3. But it doesn't matter who's 1, 2, or 3. Those are 3 quality teams.
And that's got to be the strongest region in the state right now. And, Tryon, their facilities are second to none up there. They're a great program, but they're facing probably the second best recruiters in the state of Georgia. Second only to Kirby Smart in Bowden. And it's a new set of players, it seems like, every year for them the past few years. And so that's going to be a tough hill for them to climb. But we'll just see. The skeletons that they've had in their closet the past few years, they've gone on and they've seemed to be able to replace them. And it's odd, a kid will be at Central Carrollton 1 year and next at Bowden next. So
or Eagles Landing Christian.
Yeah, or in the state of Alabama.
That's right.
GHSA has decided that they're going to close their eyes to it, so let them do it. So, but anyway, I got an eerie feeling about tomorrow night that probably Tryon may end up beating Bowden.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. We'll have that update for you next week here on the Integrity Sports Podcast. Scott, let's quickly look at Sly County's region standings as it stands right now. Sly's at 6-4 and 5-1 in the region. Taylor County, like you mentioned, Coach Byram, at 7-2. That's the best season they've put together in a long time. They're at 4-1 in region play. Macon County is 5-4. They're also at 4-1. And then Marion County is at 4-5. They're 3-2 in the region. And Marion's going to play Central of Talbotton next week, if Central of Talbotton is even allowed to play. They had 3 ejections last week. They only had 13 players on the roster. So they may not even be able to play, regardless whether they play or not. Marion's going to get the win in that game.
Yeah, Central Tarleton. I mean, my heart goes out to those kids. They're out there every Friday night, and this is just almost like I said, a skeleton of a football team out there. And they've got a couple of really good athletes. I can remember number 12 when we played him. We seemed like we called his name over and over and over again, his number over and over again, on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
So they've got the athletes. I just hate that they've got the ejections they've got to contend with.
Today's program is also brought to you in part by the Marty McDonald State Farm Insurance Agency. They're located at 925 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in Americus. You can reach them at 928-3686 or look them up on Facebook. Drop by and see Marty, Mary Lynn, or any of their staff and let them discuss your insurance needs with you. They can even do that famous discount double check, and that will ensure that you're receiving all of the savings that are available to you. Thanks to Marty McDonald State Farm Insurance for sponsoring this segment of the Integrity Sports Podcast. And remember, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. That takes us to the Sumter County Panthers. Sumter County really took care of business last week. After dropping their first game of the season to Carver the week before, they come back home hosting Hardaway and needed a win to make sure they finished second place in the region. And boy, did they win. They blasted Hardaway 30-0. So they're now 8-1. And Scott, this week they'll face Columbus High School, who comes into the contest at 2-7. They're 2-4 in the region. Their only two wins on the season are against Jordan and Kendrick, the bottom two teams in the region.
You know, I just hope Sumter County don't look past. They played inspired football after the loss at Carver, and I hope that this week they don't start looking towards the playoffs and take Columbus lightly, because if they do, even though Columbus's record, anything can happen on any given Friday night, as we've seen a lot of times before. And I don't want Sumter County to drop the pumpkin, so to speak, and not get the second place finish this year and keep nipping at the heels of Carver this year and on into next.
So here's the region standings for Sumter County's region in AA. Carver of Columbus, they're 9-1. Their season's finished. They are the region champs in the regular season. Sumter County's 8-1. They're 5-1 in the region. Regardless of what happens tomorrow night, they're going to be number 2 seeded team in the region. And I want to stop right there, Scott. Think about where Sumter County's been over the past 3 seasons. Let's take last year out and go the 3 seasons before that. They were either 0-10 or 1-9. And now 5-5 last year under Will Rogers in his first year. And here they are sitting at 8-1 with a chance to be 9-1. We've got to stop and brag on everybody involved.
Just a few years ago, I hate to say it, but they were the Central Tarleton of their classification. They were everybody's homecoming team. Everybody's homecoming game, and it just shows you how quickly one person can change the culture if you've got support from others in the community and not pulling you down and all. If you got and Coach Will Rogers, for whatever reason, the community got on board with him. The players bought into him super quickly, and he's had great success. We started this podcast, and I remember the afternoon before our very first podcast, I was at their practice that afternoon. I felt like I need to do that. If I'm going to talk about them, I need to at least see what I'm dealing with. And they, I saw the team and how they were responding to him, and how organized his practices were, and the discipline that he was doling out. That they were doing exactly what I said. This guy's going to do a good job, and lo and behold, he's made me look like a genius.
He absolutely has. He's a very disciplined coach. But he's not so hard-nosed that the players don't play for him and don't like him. He holds them accountable, as any coach should, but he's also that guy that those players want to run through a brick wall for him.
That's right.
It's been a lot of fun to watch this progression. And Sumter County, take care of business tomorrow night. Go ahead and finish this thing off like you're supposed to. Finish 9-1, and let's get ready for the playoffs. Sumter County going to be the 2 seed in the playoffs. We'll know next week who their opponent will be in the first round of the playoffs. Sumter will be off the following week because of that Georgia high school decision to push the playoffs back 1 week. Today's program is also brought to you by our friends at the Fish House Restaurant. They're located at 224 North Jackson Street in Americus. They offer some of the freshest seafood in all of Southwest Georgia. Whether it's fresh shrimp, oysters, or catfish in their seafood center, or a hot meal and a cold drink in the Fish House next door, owner Mark Tyler and his staff want to serve you tonight. Give them a call. Their number is 924-5177. You can even place a to-go order that way. And sit down with them and have a meal tonight. The Fish House Restaurant is a proud sponsor of the Integrity Sports Podcast. That's our 3 teams that we focus on every week. Scott, we've got a lot of teams that are open, but let's look at a few matchups here in the area. Lee County, this is a huge game. Lee County at 9-0 will face their region rival, who normally has that type of record, Houston County. Houston comes in at 6-3. You know there's nothing more that the Bears would like to do than to upset Lee County. What do you think about this one?
Well, they can like that all day long, but it ain't going to happen. I mean, Houston County, you know, they deep down they may want to win, but deep down they know they're not going to win. I hate to break it to them, but it's just not going to happen. Lee County's just too strong. Houston County with that 6-3 record, it's just this. They better have a lot of tricks in their bag for Lee County to hope they're going to win. But I think Lee County is in the inside lane right now to the state championship, and they ain't going to let Houston County slow down.
Yeah, this is big boy football for sure, and I'm going to go with Lee County finishing off the perfect regular season at 10-0 with the win over Houston County. Here's one that I know you're looking forward to. Macon County at 5-4. They're at Taylor County. Taylor County comes in at 7-2.
I mean, I can say unequivocally, I want Taylor County to win this game for several reasons. But Macon County is strong. They've won some games that they probably shouldn't have won, but they've also lost some games they shouldn't have lost.
Right.
So I guess we have to wonder what Macon County team is going to show up tomorrow night. Is it going to show up the one that wins the games they're not supposed to, or is it going to be the one that loses the games they're not supposed to? I think that there's been enough smack talking on the internet back and forth that it's time for the game to be played. Now, Macon County does have some injuries and some ejections to contend with. But Macon County is always going to have the depth to fill those holes.
Right.
But since it is going to be played in Butler, and I think that Taylor County would love to have a home playoff game, I'm gonna give the nod to Taylor County on this one.
Scott, Macon County, very physical up front on both sides of the football. Taylor County, probably a little more of a finesse type team. Braden Ellison, if he's at the quarterback spot, he's tough to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
He can run the football. He's not bad.
He's tough to deal with his mama. I can tell you that. I know his mama.
But I'm like you. I think in the end, it's at Taylor County. Taylor is 7-2, and they know that if they win, they can knock Macon County down to that 4th spot. So there's going to be some emotional attachments on the line. I'm going to go with Taylor County in a close one.
I think so. I may go to that game, or I can't decide if I'm going to watch on FHS or drive up a mile up the road and watch it. I haven't decided.
Drive a mile up the road and go see them. Here's an interesting one, Scott. We haven't talked much this year about Crisp County, even though they're just across the river. But Crisp has had a non-typical season for the Cougars. They come in at 1-7. They're going to host Cook High at 3-6. I know we don't know much about either team, but what do you think about this matchup?
I ain't thought about it at all, to be honest with you. I'm just going to take a swag here and go with Cook. I guess that's Cook County, right?
It is.
Okay. I'm going to say Cook County's going to win. They're going to a lot of that has to do with how many troopers or policemen are sitting in Ashburn to slow them down coming from Adale. But I still think Cook County's got to win.
Hey, if you want to go to the game, we've got probably Scott, about 4 or 5 state troopers in here in the Roman oven right now.
That's why I said that.
Yeah,
they're right there. Yeah.
So they're not on the interstate right now. I threw this one in here because I want to get your thoughts on it. Bowden at 7-2 hosts Tryon at 8-1, and there are huge implications on the line.
There are, and I have both of these schools have strong history in GHSA in the lower divisions. Bowden has had unprecedented success the past few years, and Tryon has always had a strong program. Tryon is one of those schools that is a lot like Brookstone, the way they used to play. You have to beat them all 4 quarters every minute. I mean, if they go into the last minute and they're on defense and they're down by 2 touchdowns, they still believe they can win that ball game.
That's right.
And so that's always been the case with Tryon. The fact that Bowden is playing at home, which is a tough place for anybody, if it was in Tryon, I would probably go with Tryon. But since it is at home, I'm going to have to give Bowden a wink on this one, with their blue chip recruits and all.
So you and I are going to disagree on one game this time, and it's going to be this Bowden-Tryon game. Had a conversation this past week with one of our friends, Paul Blanchard. And one of Paul's friends in Alpha Insurance is the father of the quarterback at Tryon.
Oh, wow.
And so I've got a little inside track on this. He's had a great year. Tryon's had a great year. Everybody in their region is sick of Bowden just taking it all. They have for 4 or 5 years now. And so Tryon's got a real chance here to turn the table, and I'm going to give them the nod. I think Tryon's going to knock Bowden off at home and win the region. So good luck to Tryon, and I'm going to call Tryon over Bowden.
One thing I want to say to him, I don't think people are as sick of Bowden taking it. I think it's in the way they're doing it.
Yes,
I think
absolutely.
I think that's the hang up that most people have, because it's no secret when you sit there and you have, you graduate a lot of kids one year, and then all of a sudden these kids come in and start playing that weren't playing there the previous year.
Yeah.
I'm no GHSA rocket scientist, but I can figure out what's going on there.
And there's not a lot of industry in Bowden, Georgia, that people would move from Alabama over to Bowden.
Not anymore.
Every year just to do it. So
yeah,
I totally get it, Scott, and I agree with you. Southland's open. Sly County's open. Sumter County at 8-1 going to host 2-7 Columbus High. I think this one's an easy one to pick.
I think so. I think we'll both agree on this one that Sumter County should cakewalk it, but don't look past them.
Absolutely. Scott, before we wrap things up tonight, let's talk a little South Georgia High School women's fast pitch softball. The Sly County Lady Wildcats, they've been over at South Commons Complex in Columbus this week for the Elite 8 of the Georgia High School Association state playoffs. And if you've never been over there for that, this is an incredible atmosphere. The top 8 teams in each classification come over there. Georgia's one of only 5 states that plays women's softball in the fall. And we're the only one of those 5 states that has all the state championships in one location at this time of year, this week. Mm-hmm. So there's hundreds of college coaches over there, from junior college to NAIA to Division III and II. Today I saw folks from the SEC, ACC. Man, it's incredible. Sly County got off to a great start in the first round of the Elite 8 by defeating Clinch County 17-2. I've never seen a team get hot like they did all the way through the lineup. At one point yesterday, Scott, we had 9 consecutive hits. That's everybody in the lineup with a hit. And it wasn't a dying quail over the first baseman or a little flare out into left. These were bullets. Callie Bishop hit multiple out-of-the-park home runs. Abby Cheek hit a home run. Probably the hardest ball I saw hit all day was by Reese Bell, who didn't hit a home run. But the third baseman reached out and the ball was glove high. It went just out of her reach. And then it was glove high when it went past the left fielder. Mm-hmm. So it's a line drive that never got more than about 4 feet off the ground. Mm-hmm. And Sly County was on, and they beat Clinch County 17-2. Then today, playing the number 1 team in Class A Division II in ECI, Emmanuel County Institute. The Lady Cats held it close for the first few innings. It was 3-0 after the 3rd inning. Final score ended up 13-0. We made a lot of errors, made 6 errors in 1 inning that really the wheels kind of fell off. And when you're playing anybody, that hurts. When you're playing the number 1 team in the state, that kills you.
When you're playing Columbus, it's in Columbus with the Elite Eight. You can't have any mistakes. So I'm hoping, they got that out of their system today, and tomorrow they'll come back and we'll be the same team that faced Clinch County. I do want to say one thing. I'm thankful to the local radio station and that we're able to listen. Those of us that can't be there, you and Donnie have done a phenomenal job on the radio. I've enjoyed y'all's broadcast a lot.
Well, thank you. Gabe Tyson's done a pretty good job himself.
Gabe was Gabe on the radio?
Yeah, he was.
I didn't know. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Scott, tomorrow they play at 11 o'clock a.m. So if you're going over to watch the Lady Cats, get there early. The game is in the stadium. It's a 8-field complex over there. One of those is the stadium. That's where all the premier games take place. During this round, they just kind of rotate it so that hopefully everybody gets a chance to play in it. And Sly County's game at 11 o'clock will be in the stadium. If you can't make it, it will be live on the radio, 98.7 WISK. I want to wish good luck to the Lady Wildcats. Scott, your final thoughts on this week in the area of high school sports?
The most pivotal game is going to be in Butler.
Yeah,
I think so. I think that's a game that I both said we want to talk about a little bit more tonight. But probably one of the more interesting games maybe down in Leesburg. But I just think Lee County is just on too much of a roll right now.
It's going to be kind of odd for us not having a game on Friday night that we have responsibilities at. So we may have to go check out a high school game ourselves somewhere differently. We want to thank you for making the Integrity Sports Podcast a part of your weekly routine. Go by and support our sponsors, Harper's Tree and Stump Removal, One Digital Solutions, Marty McDonald State Farm Insurance, and the Fish House Restaurant. Also, make sure and like and share this video with your friends. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Very simple, doesn't cost you a thing. Scott, this thing's growing faster than we thought we could ever get it. We had over 3,000 views. So our viewing audience, the public, is really buying into what we've got going, and we want to thank them for that.
Thank you so much.
So for Scott Westbrook, I'm Tim Estes. Thank you for watching. Be back with us next week. So long, everybody.